One, and you're live, Chairman.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Central Area Planning Committee meeting on Wednesday, the 21st of April 2021. My name is Councillor Michael Edwards and I'm the chairman of this committee. This meeting is held under new regulations which came into effect on the 4th of April 2020 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Please can I ask everyone present in this meeting to ensure your camera remains on where broadband permits and your microphone remains muted when not addressing the committee. This will reduce background noises and avoid any unintentional disturbances. We are streaming this meeting live as well as recording, and by being present in the meeting, you are giving your consent to being recorded. Members and officers during each item, please use the hands up function of the meeting to indicate if you wish to speak. I will then invite you at the appropriate time. Members are reminded that apart from points of order or indicating that you must leave the meeting, the chat function should not be used for questions or any other purposes. When speaking and referring to the agenda papers, please ensure you reference a page or paragraph number and keep your contributions as clear and concise as possible. When invited to speak, please ensure you turn on your microphone. Now, if I may ask officers taking part in the meeting to introduce themselves, starting with Matt Lee.
Good evening, members. I'm Matt Lee, Lead Specialist Place and Chief Planning Officer at Maldon District Council. Thank you.
Good evening, members. I'm Michael Johnson, Lead Specialist Development Management.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Louise Staplehurst and I'm a specialist in development management. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Good evening, members. Bernard Casey, Clerk to this evening's committee. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Are there any other officers present?
No, Chairman.
Thank you. Before I call on the clerk to take the roll call of committee members, can I ask those councillors in attendance to introduce themselves, please?
Hello, my name's Councillor Nick Schemes from Burnham and I'm in attendance.
Thank you.
Chairman, Councillor Mark Durham, just in attendance. Thank you.
Thank you. Bernard, please can I now ask you to carry out a roll call of members to confirm who is in attendance. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, as always, I will call your names in alphabetical order, starting with Councillor Miss Beale.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Present.
Councillor Hurd.
Good evening, everyone. I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Lagan.
Good evening, everybody. I'm present.
Councillor Mays.
Good evening, Donna.
Thank you. Councillor Morris. Councillor Morris. Councillor Nunn.
Yes, good evening, Bernard. Good evening, members.
Thank you. Councillor Shaughnessy.
Thank you, Bernard. Good evening, everyone present.
Thank you. Councillor Stills.
Good evening, Bernard. Good evening, everyone present. I think Councillor Morris has now joined us.
Oh, Councillor Morris. Okay, Councillor Swain.
Yes, present, Bernard.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Bernard. Agenda item 2, apologies for absence. May I have the apologies for absence, please, Bernard, if any?
We have no apologies for absence, Chairman, and I think, yes, Councillor Morris has joined us. If he could just confirm that he can hear us and everything's working fine. Okay, that's fine. Let's carry on. Thank you.
Agenda item 3, minutes of 31st of March 2021. It is recommended that the minutes of the meeting held on the 31st of March 2021, found on pages 7 to 10, are approved and as a true and accurate record. I so move, and if you wish to second that motion, please unmute your microphone and state your name now.
Councillor Nunn, seconded.
Thank you, Councillor Nunn. If any member wishes to raise any matter of accuracy, please use the hands up function to indicate, and I will invite you to speak. Councillor Shaughnessy.
Thank you, Chairman. It refers to page 9, the 21 Essex Road application. At the time of this meeting, I didn't realise that I did know people that live either side of 21. I knew these people lived in Essex Road, but I didn't know exactly where they were. So I would like some you know, what shall I do about this? Does it need to be changed or leave it as it is? Thank you.
Berna, can I ask you to?
Yes, we can put a note on the minutes, Councillor Shaughnessy, to say subsequent to the meeting, we were advised of the following. And if you could just send me something on an email, a form of wording on an email, that would be fine.
I'll do that, Berna. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Shall I go page by page, or do you want to all agree this by assent, please?
Happy to agree by assent, Chairman.
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 4. Thank you. Item 4, declarations of interest. To disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interest, other pecuniary interest or non-pecuniary interest relating to items of business on the agenda, having regard to paragraphs 6 to 8, inclusive of the Code of Conduct for members. Members are reminded that they are also required to disclose any such interests as soon as they become aware, should the need arise, throughout the meeting. If any member has an interest to declare, please use the hands up function now to indicate, and I will invite you to speak. Councillor Hurd.
Thank you, Chairman. I think we probably all have an interest in this because it's council-owned land, which is why it's come to this committee. But that's my only declaration. I'm sure we'll follow suit on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hurd. Berna, can you advise if any other member wishes to speak?
No, but as Councillor Hurd says, we will be minuting it that all members in attendance have an interest. Thank you very much, non-pecuniary.
Can you not see my hand, Berna, Chair?
Oh, sorry, no, Councillor, no.
My hand's not there.
Yes, it is. I can see it now.
All right, so thank you. Yes, I can. Sorry?
Just popped up now. Thank you very much.
Sorry. Yeah, I concur with Councillor Hurd in that, you know, we all have an interest, don't we? Because this is district council land. So I would say that it's a non-pecuniary interest.
Yes, I just said that I would be noting it on the minutes as a non-pecuniary interest for all members in attendance.
Thank you, Berna.
Thank you, Berna. Agenda item 5. We now move to agenda item 5, found on pages 11 to 22. And in a moment, I will call on the officer to present this item. Members, a reminder that if you wish to speak on this item, please make this known by using the hands up function within this meeting. I will then come to you in turn, and please keep your points clear and concise. Ms. Staplehurst, please can you present your report?
Thank you, Chairman. This application proposes a food and drink kiosk located at the Crazy Golf Course within the Prom Park in Maldon. There is a verbal update, which is that the Conservation Officer has no objections to the proposal. So this is the application site. You can see this is Park Drive to the southwest here, and the access into the Prom Park and the Crazy Golf Course here. It's important to note that the original application for the golf course from 2014 included a proposed cafe within the northern part of the site here. This permission was implemented as the Crazy Golf Course was built. However, the cafe approved under that application wasn't built and to date hasn't been built. However, as this permission is extant, the cafe could be built at any time. However, it's now proposed to construct a smaller timber kiosk instead. There have been 2 previous applications on the site for temporary food and drink structures. These were granted temporary permissions only, as they were mobile structures, and it was not considered appropriate for the character of the area to allow them to be stationed permanently. this application is for a permanent timber structure, which is more in keeping with the character of the area. So these are the existing and proposed block plan. So you can see this is where the kiosk would be located along the western boundary of the golf course. These are the proposed elevations showing the entrance door for the staff on the northern side and the 2 serving hatches on the front. And the floor plans. The photographs of the site looking north and west towards the position of the proposed kiosk. And some photos of the view south again towards the proposed location of the kiosk. In conclusion, the kiosk would be used in conjunction with the existing Crazy Golf Course site. There are no objections in terms of design or the impact on the character of the area, and therefore the application for approval. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Deborah. Before I open the debate, are there any other officers wishing to comment? No? Okay, I now open the debate and invite you to put any questions or make any comments you have on this report. Berna, who has indicated they wish to speak?
Councillor Hurd, Chairman.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Councillor Hurd.
Thank you, Chairman. I take it that there's no ward members wishing to speak. I'll happily give way to Councillor Swain. I think it's his area.
Yes, he's just put his hand up. Councillor Swain, would you like to start off as ward member? You're muted.
That's okay, Chairman. Yes, I wanted to clarify some points on this first. This is not the orientation of the existing huts, but on the road side, so to speak, as I understand it. The serving hatches are on the outside. This presumably is effectively in place of some of the fencing along that side. Tell me, please, if I'm wrong on that. But I go back to that comment that the officer just made about it being in conjunction with the Crazy Golf site. If it's just facing outwards, I don't see how it really connects with the Crazy Golf site and enterprise. It would seem to me it ought to be much more closely linked to that. And in which case it then ought to have some seating at least, as it did before when there was a temporary hut there. So this looks like, to me, just another of these wayside takeaways, similar to most of the others, and nothing special. I think it needs to be more integrated with the Crazy Golf site, and people and open then to people on the site and people from the outside to come in, to make it much more of a facility for all people in the park, but not in the same way as all the other kiosks. And I think we have to guard against having too many of the same sort of thing when we really need something rather different. And it's a pity that original idea of a cafe was never progressed, because that is the sort of thing which Prom Park really needs. So I'm not really liking this proposal because of the design and layout of it. I would prefer it to be facing inwards to the area, the large area they have that's unused, and that be the area for people who either seated or to have food to take away. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Swain. Ms. Deverhurst, are you able to answer Councillor Swain's questions?
Thank you, Chairman. I'll just call up the plans. So you can see it's shown on on the existing decking area, and there'd be decking to the front of the kiosk here, so it would be facing inwards towards the site, sort of towards the decking area. So it wouldn't be facing sort of towards the road.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But obviously, people can still sort of access the site to sort of come in to use it. But it would be facing inwards from the plans.
Okay, thank you very much. That's most important, I think.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hurd.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I think that's one point that I also wanted to make, because I think we need to make sure that there is a boundary fence behind this. If this is an application to go within the golf site, and to make sure that it's actually for those people who are using that facility. That's how it's kind of been sold, and not just yet another one on the prom. I'd also like to look at some conditions in relation to advertising, but I can come to those later on. But I'm just like Councillor Swain, I'm just a bit concerned about the way that it's facing. If it is enclosed within the golf site, then I'm content with it. Can we just confirm that that is the case and that it can't be accessed from the outside?
Through you, Chairman, there is no plans to remove the boundary fence that's already there. They haven't indicated that that's going to be removed, so the fence will remain in place.
That's good, thank you. In that case, then, the only other thing that I would like to see is an extra condition added that there should be no signs or adverts which are more than 0.3 square metres or illuminated sign affixed to the structure. I'd just like to add that as a condition, please. Thank you.
Mr. Lee, I think you wanted to answer that.
Thank you, Chairman. I can't remember the exact explicit limitations on advert signage. There is, though, a requirement for any sign that's illuminated that's basically not on a pharmacy to require advertisement consent. So we wouldn't need to put a condition on in relation to illuminated lights, because they would need advertisement consent separately, so it's not necessary. There may well be deemed permission, and I don't know the size of the cuff, so I wouldn't want to shoot from the hip. So if members did consider that a condition in relation to limiting advertisement that would normally be deemed wouldn't require advertisement consent was appropriate, I'd suggest that that was agreed with the chairman and yourself, Councillor Hurd. So rather than saying explicit size now, because obviously if the size what you're saying is larger than what they could do without needing planning permission, advertisement consent, they'd need permission anyway, so it wouldn't be necessary. So if members do think an advert condition is appropriate, I'd request it's delegated rather than being decided right now. Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, I'm happy for that to be delegated, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hurd. Councillor Mays, sorry.
I think Councillor Lagan was before me.
Yes.
Oh, beg your pardon, Councillor.
That's okay.
I don't mind giving way, Councillor Mays. Ladies before gentlemen.
Thank you, Councillor Lagan. I hope I won't steal your thunder. Is this building ancillary to the activities on this site? That's what my concerns lie around. I've looked at this. It's 6.1 by 2.5. That's not small. What is deemed as light refreshments? Well, light refreshments to me is sort of like tea and a biscuit, maybe a coffee, something like that. However, this is there's got a panini grill, a griddle, 2 pan fryers, soup, 4 fridges, freezer, ice cream. I would expect ice cream to be there. So I'm not actually feeling that this is an ancillary activity. It's an additional activity that is going on or is planned going forward. it is not offering anything different to many of the other outlets. So I'm a little concerned about that. I'm also concerned about the flood zoning and confused. EA says that it's flood zone 3A, but I think in the report it comes back as possibly part of it's in 3A and part of it is in 2. Have any sequential tests been done and met? I can't find it, but I might have missed it in the report, so I apologise for that. 5.1.1 actually states that a no retail impact assessment was done. Why was this? Should this not have been done? What are the conditions, or what are the eligibilities around doing any retail assessment for an outlet like this in the park? We need to be very careful what we are allowing in the park and make sure it is going to be the very, very best that we possibly can get for this location. It's high profile. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mays. Ms. Stablehurst, can you answer some of those questions, or all of them?
Through you, Chairman. Yes. So first of all, in relation to the food that's served, if I draw your attention to condition 8, we have imposed a condition that says there shouldn't be any primary cooking, which is the application of heat to raw or fresh food in order to cook it initially, unless the scheme for ventilation has been installed. But at the moment it is just sort of takeaway food and drinks, cakes, sandwiches, that sort of thing that is proposed. So no sort of hot food meals, that sort of thing at the moment. In relation to flood risk, I'm just finding the relevant section on the report.
Five point five.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So the eastern part of the wider site, the golf course site, is within the flood zone, but the actual area where the kiosk is located is just outside of the flood zone. So as part of the site is in the flood zone, that's why flood risk has been considered. But as the actual area where the kiosk will be located isn't within the flood zone, it's been sort of considered acceptable that they have provided some information in relation to flood risk and sort of evacuation plans, and that's been included in the conditions. So that's considered to be suitable in relation to flood. And then in relation to, I think it was the retail impact assessment that you mentioned. Because the 2014 application sort of agreed the principle of having a cafe on the site, and then there have been 2 applications since to have temporary food and drink structures on the site. That sort of established the principle of the development of having this sort of development in this location. Because if this didn't take place, they are able to build the cafe that was approved in 2014, which is a much larger cafe. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Yes, I understood that as well as that planning approval some years ago is extant. In other words, that it can continue. Is that correct? Am I thinking on that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Councillor May, you want to come back on?
You say that that there's likely to be takeaway food and no hot food or meals could be prepared. Well, pan fryers is heating and cooking chips. You have to heat soup. You have to heat tea and coffee. I think this is going to be just more than what I call a coffee and cake stop. Whilst perhaps your young people are enjoying themselves on the crazy golf, which is what I do. And I'm not entirely happy with the the overall use and size of this building. I don't think it's going to look very pretty either. I don't see that it will fit in with the parkland situation, and I'm also not terribly happy with the fact that nothing has actually been done and that there is extant permission here. Well, that might well be the case, but why are we now being asked to approve this one? Why can't they just use the extant permission? Sorry, I don't understand that. If anyone can help me.
Mr. Johnson, did you want to come in on there? Yes.
Yes, I understand Councillor May's points, but the starting point for us on this particular site, given that there is that history, there is the wider development which has been implemented that included a cafe type structure which could provide a range of foods, as was mentioned by my colleague, Ms. Staplehurst. They hadn't implemented it. There'd been a series of temporary permissions, as was said already, agreeing the principle of something similar to what's proposed here, although a temporary type of structure, hence the temporary permissions for those, and they were advised to come up with something permanent. So really, when we look at the timeline, when we look at the context, and we look at the history, when we look at what they can build, in our view, this is perfectly reasonable. The range of foods that they've provided is reasonable, again, within that context. We've put in out conditions to make sure that they don't carry out an excessive amount of deep fat frying and the sort of foods that could really give a sort of pungent smell without any sorts of control, and probably may not even be suitable for that type of structure. So from a planning point of view, one, it's reasonable. The conditions themselves are reasonable in that sense. So therefore, we feel it's satisfactory. It may be a different design. They're at liberty to come and change the design. They're not necessarily wedded to the design that was proposed previously. Their model has changed from what we've understood, and that's acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I think, can we go back to Councillor Laggard now? I think, are you there?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm there. Sorry, I'm having a bit of bandwidth trouble tonight, Chair, and members of the public, officers. Just to clarify a couple of points from me, I'll ask a couple of questions and then make a comment, if I may, Chair. The first thing is there any legal reason why this development can't go ahead?
Sorry, Councillor Lagan, do you mean
more clarity on that? I think, yeah.
Yeah. So with this plan, with what the applicant has actually put in for us, is there any reason why we shouldn't go ahead with this?
I'm still not quite sure, Councillor Lagan, but I mean, we're recommending this for approval. We feel that it's followed a planning timeline and a planning precedent, if you want to put it in that sense. It would be a less intense development than what could be carried out if they were to implement the permission in its full, and which they're at liberty to do that, because obviously it had commenced because the wider development had commenced, and there's no timeline for them to actually finish the development in a sense, so they can carry out as and when. Okay,
beautiful. That's very elegantly answered. Thank you, Michael. The second one is that from a perspective of how I look at it is have the applications been put in and there's been an approval for a CAF there. I believe the design is the same as what the administration area and the entrance part is, so it's a matching facility. It's a box type of design in essence, isn't it? But the building, if it gets permission to go ahead, it is in keeping with the toilet block, which is opposite with nice mural on the wall that makes the carbuncle of a toilet look a lot nicer. So from a perspective of really they're allowed to go ahead with that. I don't mind them particularly having that facility there to support families. And that should, for me, sort of finish the food joints on the prom, because we've got enough of them. I'd be happy to support this. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Langan. Councillor Stokes, I think you're waiting there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A question for Louise. When you look at the plans, they show this kiosk that's going to be built. When you look at the photographs, they show 2 more structures and some rubbish. Are those structures staying because they're actually not on the plans? They don't show them, or are they going to remove those structures?
Through you, Chairman, they aren't shown on the plans and they aren't a part of the application. That's something that is sort of outside of the scope of this application and would have to be sort of either through enforcement or sort of questioning the agent to see what they are for. Thanks.
Okay. Councillor Hurd.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm sorry to have a second bite at cherry, but I just wanted to just to clarify. So what we're talking about is one food outlet on this. So this will take the place of the proposed cafeteria. So there shouldn't be a second application coming along on this. I'm just a little bit concerned about Mr. Johnson's comment about them not being wedded to the design. What I wouldn't want to see is some gaudy, misshapen shed put up there, which is meant to be kind of pirate-like. It's supposed to be similar to the design that we're approving. So that's really what maybe he can just clarify that, please. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, can... Oh, yes.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Sorry, Councillor Hurd, that's not what I meant. I didn't mean that they could, we would grant permission for this structure, if that were to be the case, and then they build something else. I just meant wedded to the design in the sense of responding to Councillor May's comments about the fact that they had permission for a previous building, but the model had changed over the years. So my comments was in that context, not in terms of this. If permission were to be granted, it would be for the development as on the plans, and they couldn't come along and change that. So just for clarity.
I have every confidence in you, Mr. Johnson.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nunn.
Yes, through you, Chair. If Councillor Lagan is still there, is Councillor Lagan making his point as a proposal?
Yeah, I can propose that, Councillor Dunn, to support the officer's recommendation through the chair.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Lagan, and through you then, Chair, I'd like to second that proposal.
Well, thank you, Councillor Dunn. That was actually going to be my next question. So thank you. So that is now proposed and seconded, and now we can take the vote. Or would you like to agree? The recommendation for approval.
Councillor Shaughnessy, Chairman.
Sorry?
Councillor Shaughnessy has her hand up.
Beg your pardon, Mr.
That's fine, Chairman. Thank you very much. Reading through all this today, I understand it is that should this be agreed this evening, the snack bar, then they are still able to put in an application for the cafe as well, as it is extant. I would like clarification on that, please. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson or Ms. Staplehurst, can you answer that?
Well, I think if Ms. Staplehurst can show where the siting of the previous cafe is, are you able to do that, Louise? And compared to this proposal?
Through you, Chairman, I don't have the plans from the 2000 cafe. Is positioned it's larger, but it is in the same location as this proposal. So if this was built, they wouldn't be able to build the cafe as well. This would have to be removed for the cafe to be built. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification, and thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, it's recommendation for approval has been proposed, and I'm sorry, Councillor Hurd, did you want to? Oh, is that hand's gone? And it's been seconded by Councillor Nunn. So, would you like to take? Do we need to take a vote? by assent or?
Sorry, Chair. Can I just a clarification? Yeah, I just wanted just Ms. David-Hurst just to clarify that last point again about the previous cafe.
The previously approved cafe is in the same location as this kiosk, but the kiosk is smaller than what the cafe was previously approved, so they wouldn't both be able to be built at the same time.
Right, so just we're confirming that it would be in the same location as the previously approved cafe.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Chairman,
thank
can we
you.
have a recorded vote, please?
A recorded vote?
Please.
Yeah.
I would second that, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman. Councillor Mays.
Okay, Berna, can you do that and take the recorded vote, please?
For clarity, Chairman, is this with or without Councillor Hurd's suggested additional condition?
Can we have the amendment on screen, please?
Through.
Chairman, Councillor Mays.
Can you do that?
Thank you.
Is she there?
Who's huffing and puffing?
Really, Chairman, I'm not sure we can have it on screen because the whole point was it was delegated.
It's
so
delegated
there's nothing to
to
put
officers.
up. Yeah.
Yes, Chairman, that's what I was just about to clarify, that we agreed that it would be the issue around advertisements would be delegated to officers in consultation with the chairman and members.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Beg your pardon.
Happy for
Okay,
that.
but can we still have the roll call then, please?
Yes, of course, Chairman. Thank you very much. Members, I will call your names in alphabetical order. Can you please state clearly for, against, abstain? We're voting for the officer's recommendation to approve the application as detailed, subject to the conditions as detailed in section 8 of the report, and also the condition as outlined by Councillor Hard, delegated to officers in consultation with the chairman and members. Thank you. Ms. Beale.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
4.
Councillor Hard.
4.
Councillor Lagan.
4, please.
Thank you. Councillor Mays.
Against.
Councillor Morris.
Against.
Councillor Nunn.
For.
Councillor Shaughnessy.
Against.
Councillor Stilts.
Against.
Councillor Swain.
4.
Thank you, members. Chairman, that's 6 for the approval, 4 against, no abstentions.
Thank you, Bernard. Therefore, this application has been approved. Thank you. I have no other items of business, so I'll close this meeting at 6:40. And thank you very much for officers and members attending, and any members of the public.
Well done, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Night, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Chairman. Good night.
Thank you, Chairman.